Welcome to the John Paul Jones Arena. Chris Graham and Scott German. Our hearts have finally calmed down. Virginia, a 52-50 win over number 7 Duke. And Scott, this one, I mean, there's so many things we can say. I will probably say a lot of them here as we're recapping and analyzing this game. First thing I would say is people who say that a 52-50 college basketball game is not exciting don't watch games like this. This was among the best basketball games that I've seen, and we've watched some good basketball games the last few years. This was just a rock fight again, but high quality play and good defense on both sides, and Virginia makes the last defensive play and gets the win.
They had the last rock to throw.
Yeah.
And what was, as I called earlier in the week, was going to be an epic rock battle. We had the last rock in the bag. And yeah, I agree. This was a great college basketball game. And if you doubt that, I just came from a press conference in which I listened to Duke coach Mike Krzyzewski make that same statement, that this was a great college basketball game between two teams that competed for 40 minutes. About as evenly as played game as I've ever witnessed. Looking at the box score, there was one little spurt Duke had, They went up by as many as 7. Virginia quickly sliced into that, got it back to within 1 or 2, and that's the way the game played out for the remainder of the contest. This was as fiercely a competed game as I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, Virginia had a 6-point lead very early in this game, before the first media timeout. That was Virginia's biggest lead. Duke had their biggest lead, that 7-point lead you mentioned, and come out of the locker room, a 10-3 run. But Virginia went right back, 11-4 run, and tied it back up, 39-39. And from there, it was never more than 3. Tre Jones hit a 3 to put Duke back up right after Virginia tied it. And from there on, it was trading baskets. Tre Jones hit a couple of shots in the last 4 minutes. One was a 3 with about 2.5 minutes to go. He had a little... Actually, was credited with a basketball say. It was ruled a goaltend on Mamadi Diakite right at the 1 minute mark. It put Duke back on top 50-49. Diakite then comes back down. A little bit of contact, a little bit of a flop on the Duke defender. I didn't catch on who the Duke defender was, and it wasn't in the box score who that was. Diakite made a little 3-foot open shot. 37 seconds left. Virginia back up on top by 1, and then that's when Virginia needed to get stops. Tre Jones missed a shot. Virginia got the loose ball rebound. It ended up being a tied ball situation. Virginia got the ball back. Braxton Key missed the front end of a 1-and-1. And then the play of the game, maybe, and I called this in my post-game recap, Scott, I called this the biggest block in the history of basketball played in Charlottesville, Virginia. Ralph Sampson blocked an awful lot of shots, but no individual block was bigger than this one. Duke called a timeout with 13 seconds to go. Krzyzewski sets up a play, and the play is a high pick and roll. Tre Jones and Vernon Carey Jr., the talented Duke freshman, had 17 points in this game. And somehow Virginia overplayed the screen, and actually both defenders ended up on Jones, and he found Carey under the basket, wide open. Pass was a little off, and Carey fumbled just a little bit. It allowed Mamadi Diakite to get back. Diakite getting back then made Carey put the ball, he bounced the ball one time. That one dribble then allowed Huff to get back into play, and Huff swatted it away. 10th block of the night. Ends up with the rebound, which they haven't credited him with. Scott, we think he's going to end up getting credited with a triple-double with blocks. Huff makes 1 of 2 free throws. Tre Jones got an uncomfortably good look at the buzzer for 3. And that 3 at the buzzer bounded off the back rim, and Virginia gets the win. But Scott, you've watched a lot of Virginia basketball. Am I mischaracterizing that? To me, that's the biggest block in the history of basketball played in Charlottesville, Virginia. Your thoughts on that one? Given the circumstances here.
Given the circumstances, absolutely. Because we saw that play unfold. And the only thing I could see was Duke was going to get a dunk or a snowbird. And
at the least a foul and 2 free throws, right? Yeah.
And Duke was going to win the game on our luck had run out.
Yeah.
But I can't say enough for Jay. I don't know whether it was the motivation of playing against his hometown team.
It didn't recruit him. Right?
It did not recruit him. We've joked a lot before that what would Jay Huff be if he played with aggression and aggressive every night?
He'd be a Duke Blue Devil.
He'd be a
Duke Blue Devil,
yeah. At least he'd be a Tar Heel. or at worst. And as we sat here, we're looking at, he's already got his double in blocks at 10, but they're likely to look at the tape and give Jay another rebound credit on that 10th block.
On that 10th block, yeah, because he ended up with the ball after that.
He ended up with the ball. And if that's the case, then Jay Huff recorded a triple-double tonight. And when is the last time that has ever happened in UVA basketball?
Well, a triple-double with blocks.
With blocks, not with,
not with assists, right?
Not with assists.
Which is the typical way of getting a triple-double. The hard way is with blocks.
And he would have had to get it with blocks because he was exactly 10 assists away from getting a double assist.
But, 7 of 9 from the floor for Jay in this game. And boy, we're going to watch, it's 8:54 as we're talking right now here on this live Facebook. And for those listening in later, it's before 9 o'clock as we're talking right now. We're going to go back home and, as we're recapping the game and probably not getting any sleep tonight.
It's overrated.
Sleep is overrated. But, he had, there was the one dunk in the first half, remember, where he split the defenders and jumped from about the C in the ACC and jumped through 3-2 guys and got a throwdown. I'm not sure if that's the best one, though. I mean, he had that one. There was another alley-oop dunk. There was the
over the shoulder
behind the back dunk that looked like something you did when you were a kid with your Nerf hoop in your kitchen. Somebody texted me to the effect that that's the I'm 7'1" dunk.
You're not.
And you're not. Yeah. But 7 of 9 from the floor for Jay in this game. The only thing, he got his 4th foul with about 4.5 minutes to go. It was a frustration foul. The officiating was off in this game, and Virginia felt like it was off to their disadvantage. There had been a couple of no calls on Virginia plays, including one on Huff where he got knocked to the floor, and it was the worst foul I've seen since Ty Jerome's foul with about 4 minutes to go in the Final Four, the semifinal game against Auburn. It was just a frustration foul from a veteran guy that ends up getting you on the bench because it's your 4th foul. Ty's 4th, that foul in the Auburn game I'm talking about, Virginia was up 10. He gets that 4th foul, and that lets Auburn back in the game. Credit to Virginia in this one. Jay, who had been having a stellar game to that stage, obviously with the numbers that we talked about having, they were able to keep the game in distance with Jay, who had been the most effective guy on the bench there. To a point where the guy sitting here to my left, to your right on the broadcast, he keeps saying to me, "Why is Jay Huff not in the game? Why is Jay Huff not in the game?" But that lineup was effective. So, but then Jay comes back in the last minute and saves everybody's bacon.
So here's the question: how can Tony Bennett, with this game is a microcosm of the whole season.
This was, yeah.
If you look at the stats, Chris, and I'm looking at them right now. We got absolutely nothing from Thomas Weldon Tensei tonight.
Yeah. Literally nothing. 0-5 from the floor, no points.
0-5.
Missed a free throw. Missed a front of a 1-on-1. Yeah.
His plus-minus was -3. We got absolutely the next to nothing from Cody Statman, 2 points.
Well, Morcell, 0 points.
Morcell, 0 points.
-10 rating. He was only in the game for 8 minutes, and Virginia was outscored by 10 when Morcell was on the floor, unfortunately.
The big man that we had in for Jay, Cafaro, had as many fouls, almost half as many fouls, 3 fouls, and he did minutes played, 6. So Tony's doing this with
smoke and mirrors, spit and tape,
and we're 1 game out of first place.
Yeah, in the ACC.
Who else in this conference has done a better job of coaching?
I've said this twice today, and this is before the game, but now it really stands out. A few weeks ago, Roy Williams famously, anybody listening to this podcast later or watching his Facebook Live right now knows that he said this. Roy Williams said he has his least talented team he's ever had at North Carolina. I am not casting aspersions on this Virginia team, but there is less talent on this Virginia team than there is on that North Carolina team. This Virginia team is 13-5 in the ACC. They've won 9 of their last 10. For those out there who want to say that this Virginia team has been beaten up on the bad teams in the ACC, now I saw this stat a little earlier on Twitter right after the game. There are 3 teams in college basketball with 2 wins over top 10 teams. At least 2 wins over top 10 teams. They're Virginia and Clemson. Now, Clemson, of course, has a lot of losses on their ledger as well, but another quality win for this Virginia team. They've beaten Duke. They've beaten Florida State. They split with Florida State
We're 2-2
this year.
against the teams ahead of us.
Exactly, 2-2 against the teams ahead of us. The losses, 54-50 at Florida State, 80-73 at Louisville. Games that Virginia led both those games with 3 minutes to go, and now this team has its fate in its hands. I mean, the focus for so long was double bye. The talk about is this team on the bubble, which can we just end that now? And team on the bubble, they're 13-5 in the ACC, and with now another win over a quality team with this win over Duke. But you're right, Scott. I guess where I was starting with this was Roy Williams saying this was his least talented team in North Carolina he's ever had. Tony had some pretty challenging teams talent-wise early, after taking over for Dave Leto. But he is getting as much out of this team as any coach could possibly ever get out. I'm not just talking about Coach of the Year, ACC Coach of the Year. I'm talking National Coach of the Year. And this might be, last year you won a championship. There's a banner hanging up there that we keep pointing out every time we do one of these podcasts.
We keep reminding ourselves of doing the game when things aren't going well.
This is a better coaching job than last year's coaching job for Tony Bennett.
Absolutely.
And not to say, because last year, the tournament, there were a lot of tight games, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously after we only had one easy game in the tournament last year, and it was the 12-point win over Oklahoma in round 2. But Virginia's 7-1 this season in games decided by 3 points or less. 7-1. Anybody else, the concept of replacement level player in baseball, WAR and everything else, replacement level coach is probably 11-20 or whatever you want to add up here. We're 21-7, so the replacement level coach is probably 11-17 right now. And Tony's got this team on the verge of. Well, right now we're third place in the ACC because
you're one game out of first.
And one game out of first. So, best coaching job he's done, and maybe this will be the best coaching job we'll ever do. Getting this team to this stage.
And we kidded smoke and mirrors. It's not smoke and mirrors. He's got our kids believing in themselves, and it's. I just heard one of the most respected coaches in the country, like him or not, Coach Krzyzewski, just said their players know how to win close games.
Oh, we'll thank him for the 3 gold medals that he won for the U.S.
Yeah, they know how to win close games, and that's a credit to their coach.
And a credit to them too, though. These kids were 4-4 in the ACC after the loss. We were
dead in the water.
We were dead in the water. The loss to North Carolina State. There's not a sane person amongst us here, either watching now or listening later on our podcast, who left watching that game or left this arena that night, that loss to NC State, thinking, "Oh yeah, this team will be." This team will beat Duke. This team will beat Florida State. They'll be 13-5 in the ACC.
So 4-4 to go from 4-4 to 13-5. I'm not a mathematician, but that tells me they've won 9 or 10 games.
Well, and at the same time we were 4-4 leaving that night, Virginia Tech was 4-4 and Pitt was 4-4. And those teams are
playing Tuesday night.
They're playing Tuesday in the ACC tournament in Greensboro, yeah.
Or if not Wednesday.
Well, they're probably playing Tuesday at this stage, and I think Tech's got 6 wins in the ACC, and I think Pitt's also got 6 wins in the ACC. So that tells you where we were. And it kind of gives you an illustration of how this team has come back. They didn't buy into the narrative that a lot of folks were throwing out there. I mean, remember the gnashing and wailing of the teeth. I'm using biblical terms now. That the UVA fan base had after that loss that dropped you to 4-4. You'd lost to Boston College on the road in an ugly loss, a tough one, but a loss at Florida State. Then you lose that one to NC State. There was also the loss to Syracuse. Remember that gut wrenching overtime loss here to Syracuse. And no, there's nobody who's either not lying or was just completely and totally off their rocker, need their meds redone, that thought that there'd be anything close to. I mean, 13-5, of course, but I don't even know if you thought that they'd be 9-8 right now in the ACC, much less 13-5. So this is just an amazing run by this team.
At 4-4, we were probably realistically thinking if we can have a 500 season.
We weren't thinking an NCAA tournament at that stage. I mean, honestly, that's how bad things were. And this team is now, again, 9-1 in their last 10. And that loss was, that was a game we should have won. So this is an amazing job by this coaching staff, by this group. And we have a banner. I'll never forget last April, but this has been fun this year. I mean, in a way that is also gut-wrenching and excruciating. And I'm pretty sure we're going to die of heart attacks before it's all over with. Scott actually had to leave. When was it?
I think just go get a drink of water.
But I was worried. I was worried for you, but I was worried for me too. My heart rate went to 114.
But that's why pharmaceutical companies make blood pressure pills.
That's why Bold Rock gets a lot of my money too.
And Bold Rock is now my favorite drink.
Drink of choice, as we'll be working on this game tonight. So, we talked about Jay Huff, 15 points, 10 blocks. We think he'll eventually have 10 rebounds. Mamadi Diakite finished this game with 14 points, 5 rebounds. He had the big basket at the end, the go-ahead basket. We've said that before about Mamadi Diakite this season, a go-ahead basket in the last minute. Also,
he kind of redeemed himself for the goaltending, the shot that had no chance of going in.
He didn't need to do that.
But I mean, that's adrenaline.
It's adrenaline, yeah, and plus to be able to do that. Braxton Key also 14 points, 8 rebounds for him. Kie Clark 7 points, 5 assists. 4 turnovers in 38 minutes. And Trey Jones went off a little bit, 17 points in this game, but only had 2 assists. He played all 40 minutes, and there's a metric on the stats that shows what you score and what you give up, and it's funny, the numbers would seem to skew in favor of Jones there with the 17 points, Kie just 7, but it turned out that click on the analytics here real quick. I'll show you as we're bringing up some special stats that we have access to that you guys don't, unfortunately for you guys. Scroll just up a little bit further. Points, maybe it was a little higher there. I'm sorry. Points that you account, points, let's see, offensive player analytics. Points produced and points allowed. So it was 17.6 and 15.5 for Jones. So he's a plus 2.1. Go back to Virginia stats now. And then if you go to Virginia, made you kick out of there. We're having fun here on a podcast, just kind of giving you some insight here. Home stats and analytics, yeah. So Jones was a plus 2.1, and Clark was a minus 5.5. But then you look at Huff was a plus 9.2 in this game from a standpoint. So, in any case, solid games all around. Getting most out of guys. Beating a pretty talented Duke team.
Yeah, it's still a team that's got a one and done out there. It's still a team that's got 2 or 3 4-star players out there.
Carey was as good as advertised, 7 of 12 from the floor, 10 rebounds. He had relatively limited minutes because of foul trouble, at least in the first half. He only played 9 minutes in the first half. He ended up with 28 minutes of game action in this one, but 17 points, 10 rebounds. And he had the ball under the basket with 5 seconds left, all by himself, and he got blocked.
And all I could see was a gut-wrenching loss.
Yeah, that's what we all saw here. And but our kids, to their credit, pulled this one out.
Like they have all season.
Like they have against 7-1 in games decided by 3 points or less, 9-2 in games decided by 5 points or less. This is why we're all going to die of alcoholism at the end of the season. But
become nicotine addicts.
Nicotine addicts, yeah.
If not worse.
I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. I mean, there's a lot of things. Yeah, so we win by 3 on a basket with 6 seconds left. 2.6 seconds left in Blacksburg. You win this one this way tonight.
Oh, we won this one early. This one came with about 3 seconds left.
Well, I don't know. That last shot by Jones that bounded out was pretty tough. So. Yeah. But well, thank you for joining us here, both on the live and the podcast, and we're going to have a lot more after this game. Scott's going to go home and write some stories. I'm going to go home and write some stories. And again, we probably won't get much sleep tonight, but that's life.
Overrated. Sleep is overrated.
Sleep is overrated.
Regular heartbeats are overrated. Healthy marriages might be overrated.
Dogs,
pets.
Dogs not being scared. Hey, the good thing for both of our dogs is that we were here. We were here, not there. Yeah, that's right. So thanks for joining us here, and we will talk to you again very soon.